Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness. I'm probably like 12 or 13 years old when this game came out, and I didn't actually own a PC at the time, so the first time I was exposed to this game was actually, I think I was at my uncle's house who happened to have a computer, and I was playing, I think, the demo, and it was just like fascinating to me. For those that don't know what Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness is, it is one of those breakthrough games for me, like that one game that got you into gaming. It's kind of like how Final Fantasy 7 was for me, or, like some of the games on the regular Nintendo. It's like that one game that you got addicted to gaming on, and Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness was that game. It was an RTS. It's played similar to like a StarCraft 2. Other games like, Command and Conquer and the new MOBAs that use RTS type features. Warcraft 2 was more about macro management, how you can actually control units across a map, and each fight required like a lot of micro, but there's so many things going on at once. I just remember the big thing when we did it was actions per minute, and you had to have like at least 150 actions per minute at all times to be good at the game, and you kind of had to know what you're doing and how to respond and how to react. It was a fairly simple game. You had orcs and humans were always at a disadvantage because the orc ogres had bloodlust, which you could cast on them and it would buff them up and it would last a certain period of time, where all the human paladins, which was supposed to be the melee equivalent, had just heal and they didn't auto heal. A lot of that stuff and features were changed in Warcraft 3. But I remember playing this game, and I got home. I didn't have a PC, so I went to my friend's house, and I think it took us on dial-up internet like a day and a half just to download the demo across like 6 floppy disks or something like that, and you could only play for a little bit. Eventually that friend bought the actual game, but he had a Macintosh computer. So my first actual like ranked play came into Mag League, and if anybody knows Mag League or is watching that knows Mag League, that was all done on low resources mostly. It was a lot different pace than some of the other leagues that were in existence. Started there in Mag League, low resources, finally got my own PC, and I think I played on then MSN Gaming Zone. Back in the day, before they actually had ladder systems, it was all like honor system where you had to actually go and report that you lost to somebody and then you get your points, which not a very good system because there's people that are sore losers that just don't do it. So I started on MSN Gaming Zone, and I think my username has always been NamNav or VanMan, and I've had like 100 and some other names. But if anybody is watching this played on Battlenet, it would be, I think it was in Guild Unknown, and back then you just had the initials UK underscore, and I think my username was either NamNav or VanMan, which NamNav's VanMan backwards. Bunch of different usernames. So I started to dominate on the MSN Gaming Zone, and once you dominate on one platform, everybody talks about how there's other platforms. So I would make Smurf appearances on, I think it was Heat. I would go to Kaylee, and it feels like there was one more that I'm forgetting about. But Kaylee always had, I don't know if it's spelled, if it's Kaylee or Callie, but Kali. Always had some of the better players, a lot of high resource players there. That's where I met people like Simi Rock and Mephisto, and you couldn't really ever establish like who was the dominant force with all these different like gaming platforms going on and all these different areas to play. But then in I think 98, 99, Warcraft 2 came out with the Battlenet Edition, and everybody kind of knows what Battlenet is because it became like the thing for Blizzard. But basically it brought everyone together on one server, and it did pretty well there. I was actually in the #1 spot for the first season for almost the entire season. I think my record was 161 wins and 14 losses. Had quite a lead over, I think the #2 was SC Terror. And for some reason, at the end of like the last day, I had people that would join my game and leave to get in, and that essentially looked like I was getting, I don't know what the points are called, but they would just kind of surrender after like 5 minutes. And I had a few people do that to me that day without thinking much of it, because that does happen from time to time. Lo and behold, I got reported for cheating, for having people intentionally join my game and leave to give me some rating, which I didn't need because I had a big enough lead over the #2 guy, and I didn't know any of these people that kept joining and they'd leave. So they ended up actually just like erasing my record or not counting me. So it was kind of a bummer because I had led the entire season. Never got the chance to play the #2 guy during the season. And I think you got like an autographed copy of Warcraft 2 and then like a trophy or something, like a game CD or something like that from the developers. So I was kind of bummed about that. I did end up playing the SC Terror guy after, and I did actually win that match. Probably would have been just a lot easier to play him head-to-head during the season a few times. Again, with games like Warcraft 2, just because you beat somebody once doesn't mean you're the best, but when you're like 14, 15 years old, like I thought like I'm the best at this game. Some of my guild mates, just to name drop a few people, like there's like UK Blue Flare, Dave H. I remember playing with Sexican. They do have a Warcraft 2 Russian server type thing that's playing. I used to log on there, and I think I seen Blue Flare on there a while back. This is many years ago. Most of the people that are playing now that are considered the best that they do the replays of, I don't recognize those names from when I played live. I know with all the actual like people viewing and people joining as allies for shared vision and all the streaming and then all the stuff that's going on, that a lot of the mysteries out of the game back in the day, you wouldn't, you'd face off against so many different opponents, you couldn't really like understand how your opponent would play. Nowadays, it's the same guys playing, 20 matches a day against each other, and they all know how each other play, and they just try to outsmart each other. It's kind of like chess instead of a random surprise. I thought I would be cool and start playing Warcraft 2 on this Russian server edition or whatever. And back when there was enough people playing where you could still join pickup games pretty easily, like I just had lost it all after going through EverQuest and especially World of Warcraft. When you start playing MMOs from RTS, a lot of your actions in MMOs are more like calculated and automated. The strategy's developed ahead of time and you just kind of act it out. You don't need to reactively respond. Like you don't need to respond at 150 clicks per minute in most of the MMOs, unless you're doing PvP. Maybe that's a little bit faster paced, but I had completely dumbed down my movement and my speed and my mouse speed and just even the ability to like manage multiple fronts in this old video game. And I couldn't do it. I sucked. I sucked so bad that when I saw Blue Flare, like talk to him, like he knew who I was or whatnot. We play a few games. And he's like, dude, you're not Namnav. Like, there's no way. Like, and then he just pretty much just stopped talking to me because I was that bad that I couldn't even play anywhere near a level like I used to, like they remembered. So I was kind of like this trashy, mediocre teammate. So he just stopped playing with me. It kind of hurt a little bit. Just don't have the speed anymore to play this type of games. And my main strategy, and again, this is before, this is when there's probably like 10,000 players playing this game because it's like the thing and it's on Battlenet. That's a made-up number. I feel like there's a lot of people playing. You could get games pretty much instantly. There's just games nonstop. So you rarely played like the same people twice unless they're part of your guild or like your friends list. My main strategy was the 2-hall, which I became like exceptionally well at. Obviously, I was in the lead on the ladder with this strategy. Sometimes the 3-hall. I never ever did a grunt rush in a game really well. Most of the games I did that is clear that I'm not the better grunt rusher, so I'd still be racing for technology. Biggest threat that I face as a 2 or 3 hauler is that when you start on high resources and you have like your 10,000 gold or whatever to start, you burn all that on buildings, and then I used to get my lumber mill right away, so I'd have guard towers, so they would shoot the enemies coming in, so I could actually like sustain. And I used the wall out strategy or wall in strategy, positioned in a way so that if something were to attack the outside, they couldn't get through because it was walled off. That's the walled out strategy. So you'd wall in these areas by your gold mines so they couldn't get to them, and then you'd make like enough space along your buildings so that your peons could repair at a decent rate compared to the attack. Now, where that went south is people would do these grunt rushes with catapults, and the way that I dealt with that, which was pretty successful, is I would build about, not many, they'd be level 1 grunts, not grunt rushing. I would build 5 or 6 grunts and I would hide them some random place across the map, and then I'd wait for the catapult to come into view, and like the only mission of those grunts was just to attack that catapult to destroy it, because that's all I needed was that ranged attack to be out of there that could hit my towers. Became pretty decent with that. If they did eventually get through or break through, by that time I have 2 or 3 gold mines going, full peons, full economy, massive gold, and you chop out and build 6 barracks, you got bloodlust coming in, ogres, you just pretty much swarm them. And that was my strategy, was to quick tech with massive power. If I could have 9 barracks, I would. It's because you can only have 9 units in a group, so every time they come out, you have a full group. And I would just swarm the opponents just with resources. That was my main strategy. And I was also really good at fast teching with a single haul on low resources, plain snow or Garden of War. Low resources I was always really good at. I don't think too many people really beat me on low res. Not a lot of people played it, but I was really good from the Mag League days, which was mostly all low resources. Never too good in IC's combat or those type of things, but I would play it. That's where those players like Simi Rock would obviously dominate like C matches, so I avoided those. I pretty much stuck to Garden of War, Plains of Snow. Sometimes I do some other ones, but not often. And then I think that I've mentioned Mephisto before. He actually improved my game he always had a peon that was building farms, like no matter what. It's just no matter what your farm usage was. And before that, I would kind of like let off, and then I'd run into that maximum. You can't have any more units because you don't have enough farms. So I got into the habit of always having a peon building farms no matter what, like all over the fucking place. So it never hit that handicap of having too many units for farms. That's one thing I did learn from him when he was building in mass. There's a lot of people that I'll recognize from my Warcraft 2 times. I just can't think any of the names right now. All of them thought they were the best. I thought I was the best. We were young. I was young. I don't know how old they were. I'm guessing they were, 14, 15 too. And some of them I met in real life. I've actually become good friends with a couple of them where we've played other games together, like EverQuest, World of Warcraft, and we'll try new games together. We had this little gaming group that kind of followed along from those days, and just really, really fun times. So, I mean, technically, even though I wasn't crowned king of Season 1 ladder on Battlenet, it still can't take away the fact that I led it for most of the entire season. Could just pretend like I was a former #1 Warcraft 2 player. This is like back in the days of, drinking Mountain Dew and peeing out windows because the bathroom is too far, and then
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
roundhousing your computer off the desk because you lost a match or have to go in the garage and do some type of karate. A lot of rage and anger and speed. Like, this game was like jacked. And when they made Warcraft 3, it wasn't so much about zerging anymore. It was more about unit makeup and counters and stuff like that. Warcraft 2 had some of that, but if somebody needed anti-air, they had one air unit. They have a dragon or a griffin, and then you either had an extra or an archer or a guard tower. That's the only way you could hit the air, or they had like death knights and mages and stuff like that too. But it was like clear cut, like what you needed to do at what technological point in the game. And StarCraft, I did all right with that because of the Zerglings. I could, I play Zerg pretty well because you can have a bunch of hives and swarm people. I did a little stunt on StarCraft Battlenet ladder one season. I think my best, I made 35-1, and then for some reason I think I started playing Diablo 2 and just stopped playing on that ladder, but was up pretty high on the StarCraft ladder. By Warcraft 3, there's so many different units and mixing and matching that was beyond my Warcraft 2 capabilities. That's where actions per minute and resources couldn't really save you. You could build like 100 units and get stomped by like 10 of something else. So not really ever good at that game, but around that time I was starting to get into Diablo 2 and then eventually EverQuest. So kind of left the RTS scenario. Back then we would watch pure ownage.
I am the ownage, bitches.
If anybody knows what that is, I think they even got a TV series. They had a couple seasons on there, but you know who FPS Doug is? The guy that would go boom, headshot.
Like boom, headshot, boom, headshot, boom, headshot.
Kyle, the guy that was in film school that did all their filming that they would make fun of in pretty much every episode of the original. And then Jeremy, that was the main character. We actually went out to one of their openings in Toronto and met them, and we got a picture with them from a long time ago. I used to do stupid stuff back then because Jeremy played Command & Conquer or so in just a series. He was one of the best people at Command & Conquer, and then it morphed into other games. But Command & Conquer is an RTS, and I used to send like emails off challenging him to like, saying I was coming for him in Command & Conquer because I was so good at Warcraft 2. Just dumb shit like when you're young that you do that. And I tried to play Command & Conquer, and nothing like Warcraft 2. I would have been like straight noob, and I would have probably made one of his episodes if I tried playing him, assuming that he was really good. It might have all just been, I've never actually seen him play or go up against him. So it could have just been highlights of him owning noobs or whatnot, and then the whole character and personality of it. But we did meet them. That's some of the influences that had during the gaming progression. But there's a little bit of Warcraft 2 backstory for you. I'm hoping to weave in 1 out of maybe 10 random videos away from EverQuest. So if you did enjoy hearing any of this story, please let me know in the comments below. I'm assuming since most of my audience is like 25 to like 44 or something I saw in the analytics, that you guys might have played some of these games or can relate to them, especially, like the World of Warcraft, Diablos and stuff like that. So hopefully I make some videos talking about that. We got P99, we got TLP, we got private servers and tests that's free. Some of us pay, some of us don't, some of us play, some of us won't. Did you just break my mess? Did you just train me? Did you just miss a healing? Are you gonna rest me? And please I need a sow, and please I need a rest. Please I need that sword, I'll take what you got.